What's up YouTube, Spencer K here, and I am back for the retirement video, part 2 for Nations 1.0 Xbox One Edition. That is a long title right there, but we are back, and in the first episode we toured the entirety of my nation, so I thought, I'm back in my nation. So this is something I came across while I was flying over to Raven's place. This is a little Olympic field, Olympic island, Olympic area I was trying to create for everybody. I had boat racing, you could see tic-tac-toe. Not a whole lot yet, but it was something in the works, and I had a really cool podium here. It was going to be the Olympic flame in front of my flag, and then the actual podium. I thought that was kind of neat, but this is something I definitely forgot. Voice crack. Definitely forgot about this, so I figured I'd put it here in the beginning of the video. We're still going to tour all the other nations in this episode, as well as anything else, and then talk about all the wars and drama to an extent. We're not going to go crazy. I do have a history series, hopefully in the works, where we will cover all that. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of cool visuals, so look forward to that, guys. But if you weren't here for episode 1, I highly recommend watching it. We toured my nation, which I think is the #1 nation. I think it is the best. I'm not being biased. You can go back and watch it and compare all the nations we're about to explore. There is a massive difference. But with that, let's get into the video. I'll see you guys at Raven's place. We are not quite at Raven's base yet, but as you can see, that little granite wall I was talking about that goes all the way along the world border, we have found it, and if we follow it to the west, it will take us directly to Raven's nation. And here we are. We're entering Raven's nation here. That is not Raven's nation. That is new Minecraft. That was not in this version. You can see that is outside of the world here. And he was building like a little ghettos, I think is what that was supposed to be. He's building those little town... No, I'm not sure they're called townhouses. I'm not sure, but what you would see kind of in a more ghetto rundown area, kind of crunched together. And then you had a couple other buildings here. I couldn't tell you what they're all for. And then 2 embassies plus his house, a little farm. And his workstation, I guess. That is really it for Raven's Nation. History about Raven's Nation in this world. He really wasn't a huge player. In the beginning, he started out pretty strong, but he got into no world events. He actually did declare war alongside the Allies in the world war we had, but he was really the only nation to not be involved in any way, shape, or form. Actually, he didn't even get online for the war. The war was over by the next time he got online. So, really not a factor. He was a part of the quad defensive pact between me, Ravens, Kaiser, and Dan. So, I mean, he was pretty safe. But he just quit playing, didn't do a whole lot, and eventually that led to him donating his land to me, essentially becoming a state. That way he could still manage his land, but he'd be defended by me. He did have 2 rail systems. I believe the left one goes to me, and the right one here goes to Cool Guy, where we will head over to next. Already I am back, and I totally didn't have any issues finding his place at all, by no means, yeah. Totally didn't have any issues. Just cut out all that time, which wasn't me by any means. But we have, we're here in Cool Guy's Nation. We have a couple embassies. I'm not sure whose that one is. Maybe there's a sign here. Let's see. That might be Hacker. Yeah, Hacker's embassy. Hacker and Cool Guy were really big allies. Then you got Dan and myself. Like I said, I think I said in part 1, I have an embassy in every nation as well as every nation has one in mine. So, the Mr. International, you know, that's me, man. Dan was a close number 2. He probably started being able to tell. But Cool Guy. Base doesn't look like a whole lot, but man, was he involved in all of the major conflicts. What his base doesn't show you, his history does. That is for damn sure. He was involved in both of the largest battles in nation's history. I think those 2 records hold to this day. The very first one was a 3v3 between Oregon and Cool Guy in a very long war, and then the second one was the World War. So yeah, very involved on a world stage, absolutely, compared to a couple other guys. But yeah, just really a stable, a couple farms, and I'm sure he has some underground stuff, but really not a whole lot to see here. But his base was absolutely demolished. I'm gonna talk while I fly over to Oregon, because I know Oregon's just straight south of me. Him and Oregon's nation, the Land of Shadow, went to war multiple times, really. They had, in the first war, it was 2 battles, and I can't remember how it started. I'm gonna have to talk to him. I genuinely can't remember how it started. But, I want to say, like, griefing back and forth, maybe some trash talk, and eventually they went to war. And they had a battle, and that was the the chill one, it was a 1v1, Oregon versus Cool Guy. Cool Guy won it in Oregon's land. Then they stopped, went back to their land, prepared a bit more, and they had a second battle that Cool Guy also won, despite being outgunned. In Oregon's defense, that second battle was really laggy. I got it on film, and there was a game crash in the middle of it. So, but right here is actually part of the battlefield. You can see that was a tower used in the video, just random logs, lava piled. All these lava buckets were there to try to trap and kill some of the people fighting. And you can see it was used in a defensive manner. As Oregon's people retreated, they were dropping lava to try to trap the people chasing them down. I can't remember exactly who was fighting who. It was Cool Guy and two of his friends versus, I want to say it was like Oregon, Runty, and someone, but I can't be exactly sure. But Cool Guy did win the second battle. But in between those battles, I want to say it was in between those battles, they both griefed each other in two of the largest griefings ever. Oregon's got decimated, and you're going to see the old ruins of Oregon's base, as well as that entire base by Cool Guy also got decimated. And that's just why his base also isn't that big. It definitely got griefed at least one good time, maybe even more, at least messed with. So, you know, that definitely sets you back. And that definitely, if you got to repair a bunch of buildings, that just doesn't motivate you. It makes you not want to play. So, I think we're here. I think this is the ruins. Yep, this is the ruins. So, this is the base that got griefed by Cool Guy's Nation. And you can see it's in absolute ruins. It is called ruins for a reason. Now, we'll get here in a second, but this is actually a state of mind now. I know that's a transition. But this is Oregon's first base. Back when Oregon was competing to be world power, this is it. This is where he lived, and he had a lot of beautiful homes. I want to say this was like a barracks, or maybe this was a building, but he SC1. SC1 was a project of, I think, a rail that was supposed to go all the way underneath Cool Guy's base, but failed. But my nation's trying to keep it as a museum just because, you know, it's part of the history of the world. I didn't want anyone tampering with it. I don't know what that is. I guess an old border. And this was a really cool base in here too, where they had a chain link going down holding something. But that also got griefed. Oregon's new base was over here, but that also fell because Oregon was also involved in the World War. He was also involved in a civil war. He was in a lot of wars. Oregon says, I think it's safe to say I have some PTSD from this world. Yeah, he had a lot of stuff go on. But yeah, this is a rail he had going, a couple of projects over here. I have no clue what that is or this. Just a couple of things. My embassy here, there's a story between that, and then there's Brady. This is their new base, but it got taken over by Brady, and Brady is the state leader now, and they have a couple of stuff going up. And this was a really cool idea, but I don't think it's going to end up working out here unless we do a bunch of different size flags, but it was going to be like an embassy thing. And then a rail going over to money. But let's catch up on the history between the Cool Guy, Oregon, and the World War. So it started with the Cool Guy, Oregon War, in which Cool Guy won, which turned Oregon's nation, as you can see, into ruins over there. They started up again, and there were some issues, specifically with the citizen Runty, who didn't like the way things were being run or the way things were going on. And eventually, he declared civil war. And he actually did it on July 4th. And I want to say it was 2016. So what a day to start a civil war, a revolution, right? So, so he actually did it, and he waited for a moment of weakness, pushed Oregon into lava, declared his independence. Every other nation actually recognized him as a nation and gave him a plot of land, which we will go explore out to the east. But so now Oregon has lost a war to Cool Guy and a revolution, a civil war. I don't know which one. I think we call it the Runty Revolution, just because the double R, it sounds cooler. So he's already 0-2. What do? You rebuild again, and then you get some revenge. You go and you attack Runty. Well, at the time, Oregon wasn't a fan favorite. So at the same time, while all this is going on, the Cool Guy and Oregon War, the Runty Revolution, I'm in a Cold War with Oregon. Me and Oregon were in a Cold War, and we've talked about it. Still good friends. We're just in a Cold War. I can't say it enough. It was weird because we're trying to do stuff to get on each other's side. Like, he would supply someone that, you know, may not be fully allied with me, or, you know, may lean towards him, trying to get his neighbors like money maybe, and in Dash maybe, to, you know, because he knows he's not going to be able to flip Dan, Kaiser, or Raven. So, you know, try to get your local guys. Did not work though. Somehow I allied cool guy that brought hacker with me. Dash was heavily reliant on me, but he was trying to open it up, and then everyone else was pretty much on my side. But during the Cold War, because I wanted to, this and me, I've told him about this too. This isn't a secret. I know it's really messed up, but it's clever because it's a Cold War and it was like Spec Ops, CIA, you know, Black Ops, I guess. It's crazy. I actually had a secret mission where my embassy was rigged to essentially set fire and destroy itself the second they logged back into the game, like, and they got near it and loaded the chunks. And that happened. So when they saw my embassy basically burn down, you know, I was like, all right, that's it. You know, complete embargo and complete breakdown of communication. We no longer communicate. And it was like a spec, because then obviously, you know, that's going to motivate your allies. Like, oh, they burned your embassy? Like, you know, Dan and everyone, you know, okay. So it was really clever. And that led right into the World War, where pretty much the whole world was on my side. We call it the Allies. We don't call him the Axis, because he wasn't the Axis. He was just the land of shadow. I feel bad calling him in the Axis, but he was on the other side. He was not part of our allied group, so I guess you could say that. He wasn't doing anything bad. But as I said, he wanted to get revenge on Runty, and he did. He took a citizen, and he head over to Runty's new nation, which we will explore. And he got Runty, killed him, did some griefing, and you know, the entire world was like, whoa, what the hell? We're already in a Cold War with them, right? We just voted for Runty's independence. We said, yeah, let him have his own land. And some nations gave up land so Runty could have it. I think Dan gave up a bit, Dash, I think Money had to, and there was some unclaimed land. So it was just kind of a combination of unused land and unclaimed land we gave to Runty. And it was an unprovoked attack. Like, they weren't, no breakdown in communication or anything. They weren't talking smack. It was a surprise attack by Organ's Nation on Runty, and he did come back and say, yeah, it was a revenge thing. Which I mean, can you blame him? If you get pushed into a lava pit after losing a war while you're trying to recover, and get declared, you know, revolution on, you might be a little upset. So I absolutely don't blame Organ, but just because how the world was going and how things were, you know, actively being handled with the Allies, it actually provoked a world war. And there's a video on my channel to this day of every other nation declaring war on Organ's Nation, and that turned into the battle. And I will say it's really hard to have a world war when you can only have 8 people in the game, because what ended up happening is we filled 7 of the slots because there was just so many people on our side, and one of them would join, basically get slaughtered, and then either rage quit or just give up and try to get another person in, see if they can do anything, because they were all pretty decked out gear wise, so maybe one of them could knock a couple of people off, but it just didn't work out that way. And it was really unfair. Ideally, you'd get a server where you get like a 20v6, you know, that's more fair than a 7v1. At least get your whole nation on to be able to defend yourself. So it is kind of controversial to this day, and I will admit it, but that's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles, I guess. It's a shame. But Oregon eventually gave up the leadership of his nation to another guy who broke the golden rule. You can't leave during combat. We're like, that is a bannable offense. He was about to lose, it broke it, and then he never joined again. So that guy is to this day banned from all my nation's worlds, because in actual PC servers, it'll kill you. It'll slash kill you if you leave during combat. So that was kind of the golden rule. But after that, we declared victory. Oregon had to step away for other reasons, so we respected that in anything, so we didn't want to have him deal with that. It was kind of bad timing too for everything, so I still feel bad about that. He talked to me about that. But Oregon's Nation lost the World War, and when he got back, when he was able to play again, he did build up a new nation, which I actually passed. I'll have to go back to. It's really cool. It's a really small nation, just a little like island thing, but it's pretty cool what he's got going on over there. But obviously, it was too late in the world to really have another impact, which may be for the better. A lot of wars against him that did not go his way, so maybe being a peaceful little island nation was the way to go. But here we are in Money's nation, one of the allies in that. He was involved in another war as well, and actually, he might have been involved in 2 other wars. No, yeah, 2 other wars I think he was. But he lived up on a neat little hill, and then I got my embassy here. As you can tell, I got embassies everywhere, but we're going to keep talking as we fly over to Dash's nation here, and now we'll talk about some of Money's wars. So he was technically in 3, I guess I should have said. But he was in the World War. He was an ally. He had a war with Dash and a war-ish kind of with Runty. I don't think he actually had a war with Runty, but he was one of the people responsible for Runty's water park, which is still a meme to this day. Runty's water park is still a meme. Him and one of my citizens, Silver, went all the way down to Runty's base and completely covered it in water, and also griefed it and that type of stuff. That is an old military base I started but never finished, by the way. Since I'm flying over it, might as well call it out. But completely flooded Runty's base, and I don't think a war came from that. But Runty wasn't too happy about it. I mean, that's safe to say, so that's for sure. And the other one, like I said, is a war with Dash. Now, this is over. You're never going to guess this in a million years. A red sheep. Dash has a red sheep in his basement named Catherine. Money went into Dash's basement and just Minecraft crouched and uncrouched behind it. If you know, you know. And yeah, that started the war. I believe it or not, that was the premise of the war. And Money did win that. Yeah. So it's kind of been a meme to this day that, you know, Money and Catherine, you know, are a thing. And that's the cause of a war in a nation's world. Believe it or not. Yeah, it's pretty wild. These worlds get pretty intense. You know, you could get the CIA, Black Ops, Cold War going on. You got like all this special operations behind the scenes, you know, mental warfare, and then you got crouching behind a red sheep. You know, you got all sides of the spectrum here in Nations 1.0 Xbox One Edition. But here we are in Dash's land. That is one of his old citizens, I believe, that built that. Got a couple of farms, and the first thing you're going to notice, almost every structure here is built by my nation. That one was started by my nation, built. He paid me in potatoes to build both of those. Built. That's mine and Dan's embassy, actually. He just never built a flag. Mine and Dan's. Dash built a total of 1, 2, 3, and if you want to count it 4 because of his citizen, 4 buildings. Well, I built 1, 2, 3, almost 4 buildings. Dash's nation was in a lot of wars. I could probably sit here a while and talk about them all. I've kind of already touched on them a little bit, but he really had to pay other nations to do a lot of stuff for him. He was always buying supplies. Actually, I started this for him as well. Just a lot of this was not done by him because anytime he was on, there's a good chance he was fighting or trying to get diamonds or enchanting. I mean, he couldn't build, he couldn't do a lot. He was in a lot of wars. He thought Oregon had it bad. Dash might have had it worse. Not really. He didn't lose a world war or a Runty revolution, so maybe not worse. But Dash, starting off, yeah, he got attacked by Money in that Catherine war. Let's go ahead and go into Dash's house and check Catherine out here since we're talking about it. Oh, that's right. We actually filmed that video in here. So we actually moved Catherine up to here, and she's now at the head of the table. And that's right. Even in the video, if you go back and watch it, Money was sitting next to Catherine, so it is an old meme right there. But Catherine's red sheep, she was in the basement right here. You can go back and see it in old video. Yeah, see, we just filled it in with wood for the video. I forgot we did that. And actually, there might be some bullshit behind Dash's house. Okay, so there's also some bullshit behind Dash's house I found that I cannot show on camera. So we're gonna have to move along. There is always intentions and some pranksters, so there's sometimes some symbols that may not be allowed on YouTube. So we'll go ahead and not look back there anymore. But nonetheless, Dash was invaded by Money. Dash also declared war on Oregon alongside the Allies. However, just like Ravens, was not involved. He didn't fight. He said he would trade, never did. He wasn't on same situation as Oregon. He declared war, but by the next time he got online, the war was over. So it did not matter. He really wasn't a factor there. But he got a really easy W on his record, right? But that's not going to be it for him. He was in a very heated situation with Dan for a couple of reasons. But it was because Kaiser and Dash had a war. Now, they go back to the very first Nations World back in 2013. So, I mean, them fighting is nothing new. You know, it's not shocking at all. And I couldn't tell you how this one started. Even I asked Kaiser, and he said, well, I probably just got bored. So that's not really the greatest reason to declare war, but that's what happened. Kaiser went all the way from the north, where he lives, all the way through Dan's base into Dash's land and attacked him. Kaiser actually lost the first 2 battles, I think it is, or was it? Maybe it was the first one. Kaiser lost. Kaiser won a battle, and then lost, and it was a tie. I believe it was deemed as a tie because it was a 2v2, two kills for either side, and no one had really claimed or done anything of like big importance. So I think it was deemed as a tie, but it caused damage. It definitely caused damage, and one of the battles took place in Dan's land. I forgot to mention that. Dash actually sailed north into Dan's land, and there was a battle there, which, if you're Dan, okay, now you have an ally, Kaiser, using your land when he never asked, and you got a guy who you weren't too fond of to yourself in your land, that, fighting and doing stuff. And to make it worse, there was a little bit of griefing, right? There was a base nearby of Dan, but that was untouched. But in the southern border, there was a lot of, like, trees, fire, I think even lava, but the big one was crafting tables for some reason. There was just a bunch of crafting tables and boats everywhere, and that pissed him off. I don't know what sparked in his head. I'd be mad too, to be fair. If people are using my land to fight and grief and take my resources. Sometimes we get pretty into this world, so that's a reasonable argument. But it set him off, and I flew over it there for a second as I'm here looking for Runty's base. But he went and built an entire military base, got crazy, and it kind of sparked a Cold War between him and Dash. And then he invited me down, and I helped him. I built a little military base there, and it just kind of strengthened me and Dan a little bit, but it really got Dan upset. Dan even did some stuff up north and stuff because of Kaiser, but that was really it for Kaiser. Kaiser was almost in another war I'll talk about, but we'll get to him when we get to him. But moving right along here, we got Runty's base. Now, Runty, there's some history here. So getting caught up, I flew over Dan a little bit. Dan, Runty, and Dan and Dash, man. So Dan had 2 neighbors he was not fond of at all. He did not like Runty, and he did not like Dash. And that's also why the military base is down there, and I'm down there with him. There was a lot of stuff here with Runty. As I talked about, there was Runty's water park. But before that, Dan has the #1 potion brewing facility in the world. It's massive. It's actually really cool. It's semi-automatic. I think in one click of a button you get, is it a full double chest or 2 full double chests worth of potions? It is awesome. He went all out building that bad boy, and he kept track of his potions, and a couple went missing. A couple of fire resistance potions went missing, more specifically. And out of the blue, I think Runty mentioned something about having fire resistance because he was going to the Nether, and it triggered Dan, who already didn't like him. And it's to this day, it's been found out that it was a miscalculation on Dan's part, that he potentially overreacted. If you're Runty, you would say he overreacted. But the fire resistance were misplaced. They were not stolen by Runty. And but Dan's invasion of Runty was not an accident. Dan fully invaded Runty and did quite a bit of damage, taking a lot of stuff and destroying a lot more, which led to a lot of the damage you see here, which was followed up by Runty's water park between Money and one of my citizens, Silver. Why do they not like Runty? I guess quick little thing. Once Runty got his independence, he definitely changed a little bit, trying to get into a world stage. So after the World War, land was divvied up from Oregon's nation, where I got most of it as Brady as a state. However, some was given to Money, some was given to Hacker, some was given to Cool Guy because they bordered Oregon. Runty was mad because, and I don't blame him to this day, I really don't. He was attacked. He was the reason the war started. He got attacked, and he got nothing out of it, right? He wasn't really a big factor in fighting because his nation was weak. He didn't do, most of the fighting was done by my nation, Cool Guy, Money, Dan was on, Kaiser might have been on. They were just done by other nations. He was on, but he didn't really do a whole lot of fighting. I did some, and nonetheless, he was the reason the war started. However, he didn't get anything out of it, so that also upset him. And just a lot of complaining and kind of almost denouncing, if you would, a civilization reference there. Just kind of denouncing other nations, and that kind of broke down relations between my nation and a couple others, especially Dan's being a border. Once the fire resistance thing happened too, the whole world was basically on edge bottom. So that happened with Runty's Nation. You can see this place lays in ruins. My embassy stands strong, though, just kind of rubbing it in, I guess. It may not be the best. There's an embassy in every nation, baby. We got one in every nation. I will be honest with you guys, I think he had a secret base around here where he stored some more stuff, but we're not going to worry about that. I would like to show off some stuff. I thought it had a really cool inside. I know he does in Nations 2.0, so maybe I'm thinking of that, but you know, I like to tour stuff if people put work in for it, especially if your base lies in ruins. I feel like I should show you, right? I owe it to you to show you the good stuff. I don't want your nation to just look blah, you know. But moving right along, we're going to go over to Dan's Nation. Alrighty, here we go, Dan's Nation. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff here. So as I mentioned, Dan was really in a Cold War and a war with Runty, but after that war, they were still in a pretty good Cold War. Tensions were high. They did not like each other. And so Dan built this wall down here as well as a base to, A, keep Dash out of his land, keep a wall here because he didn't want people using his land. And actually, did he keep the crafting tables? There's still a couple crafting tables here. They're on the wall, though, so you know what? Actually, I think I did this as a prank for him. Never mind. These aren't the ones. Those were mine a long time ago. I put these here as a prank to Dan to mess with them a little bit. That's where they were, though. It was right here because if you go south of here, it's Dash's land, and this was the edge of the world right here. So Kaiser would try to come down. You can see where the ice is from the world border. And Kaiser would sail down or whatever right through here. He'd mine some of these trees, and he'd go south to Dash's land. And Dash, vice versa, would sail north, mine some trees, and he'd head north up to Kaiser. I might have gotten that mixed up. I'm sorry if I just butchered stuff. But yeah, I would have like floating trees and stuff. This was me. I'm going to come clean Dan if you watch this video. This was definitely me. So if you get online, you know, get mad, right? Get mad, build some more walls. That's the answer. It's going to be walls on my border next. I'm cutting everyone off. But yeah, Dan had a little military base. Correction, Dan had a little military base here with his wall. A couple of guard towers, storage and whatnot. But we had a joint base here, and you can see, well, mine's a lot bigger. I have a little bit more of a budget, I guess, and probably more time on my hands. He also had more projects around here, too, we'll get into. But yeah, joint base, we had a wall in the middle, but it was a shared wall. You could get into each other's right here. Then I had all my little buildings, barracks, storage, all that good stuff here, shop and whatnot. But the really cool thing is I'm an air traffic controller, right? So not the greatest tower I've ever built, but I had good intentions with it, right? I built my little elevator here with all the different floors. And the really cool part about it is the stairs, of course. That's my favorite part. Is you can see the airport is snowy. No one likes a snowy airport. So what do? You flick on the lights, which were already on, so it kind of ruined the surprise. But yeah, they turn on and off from the tower. This little lever all the way up here will turn those lights on and off, with the exception of a couple lights. A couple lights are glitchy. I don't know why that one's the only one off. It might just be a bug. But yeah, it was a really cool idea, I thought. And then, yep, you got your little tower we always do. All that fun stuff. And just barracks and stuff in the works. But they are snow-capped because it has been a while. But yeah, joint military base here to defend against Dash and Runty over here. This wall actually continues all the way up to the western side of his border. And he had a little boat dock here. He stopped it because of supplies, I think it was. He was running lower on supplies, but you can see some of his boats in case he had to go over to Runty. Just a lot of progress down in the south after the Kaiser-Dash war. That war sparked all of this. None of these buildings were here. This whole base, that whole base, this whole wall, not here until that war happened. And this is the structure that was nearby that was not impacted. But it's like Dan's pride and joy behind the potion brewing facility. This is Dan's little racetrack. Like I said, we'd see a couple others in other places of the world. And this is it. This is one of them. And, you know, and it's actually made of ice. If I go down here, there's ice underneath it. So it's supposed to be a boat racing track. And so Dan has a lot of pride in this bad boy. He actually has a really cool design inside that, actually, I can't look at one of the polar bears. One of the polar bears may have... a little bit of a funky name now that I'm thinking about it. But inside, one of the insides, I'm just going to start breaking stuff. He had a cool pool table. Yeah, this is a pool table. I was like, Dan, that is awesome. And then he had a nice bar in here. Nice bar and restaurant. All that good stuff. And I think you can get up here into the viewing area of the racetrack, which is pretty cool. So, a nice area and a hotel. I think this was technically a hotel. Had that kind of a snow-capped or snowy cabin vibe to it, which I really enjoyed. So, really cool racetrack by Dan here. And then moving right along, heading up north to his main city, Dan's nation is just over this river here, so they're all pretty close, which is really helpful if you're building a nation, right? Having your states nearby is nice, making travel a lot better and all that good stuff. But here is Dan's. Wow, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this bad boy. Dan's nation here, man. I think he was number 2 on the world power stage. That's controversial though, because I think there's a couple other people you could definitely fit into that category. But I would argue him number 2. But here we go. Yeah, here is Dan's, his house up here, which is really cool. I like how he built it on top of the hill. Massive wall and guard towers all the way around. His back wall not big because this was the world border, so you'd have to get through this or that over there to even get into it. His farm was actually destroyed a little bit by the world regenerating, so you can kind of see it just take that over. Building wise, not the greatest. He had a barn here, my embassy. Kind of like my factory buildings, my industry buildings. They're just kind of plain, just, you know, cheap material to build a big building for big storage and whatnot. But this is the bad boy right here. This building is where all the money was made. Let me see if I can find it. This is the potion brewing building. And in only a couple of clicks, you can make a full double chest, I want to say, at least, of potions. And that's the redstone room, so that means I'm 1 too high. I don't know if it even works, so I'm not going to do it. This is the manual brewing room. Yeah, and this is the automatic one. So what he does is you load whatever supplies in. So you can put a full double chest worth of gunpowder above you, if you want. And then the brewing, so you can put whatever you want up there. And yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm not going to mess with it because I don't want to break it. I know this is just a copy. You know what, fuck it, we'll do it. What does it do? I click the button, and yeah, there you go. There's another ward in it. But there was an update that added blaze powder into the mix. So that's how old this world was. This facility predated the blaze powder as kind of a fuel for this thing. So, but you can see, and actually, if I click it again, there. Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that. I literally spit everything in all at the same time. That's fucking sick. That was really cool. That was a prime example. So there's no blaze powder, so you know it doesn't work at the moment, but you kind of just saw how it works. So he was making whatever fermented spider eyes makes, which I think is, that's not poison, is it? No, what is that? Is that weakness? What is it? I actually don't know. I haven't brewed in so long, man. It's actually escaping me here. But all right, Dan, I'm going to break out because you made too good of a base, and now I'm scared. But all right, man, that is Dan's main base here moving right along. And as well as all that down there was Dan's nation. Really big nation. It really helps when, you know, a massive nation comes and builds a bunch of military buildings for you, so that's always cool. But moving along, we're not quite done yet. I actually missed a couple of nations back in the west, so we'll have to go back over there. But we got Kaiser's nation. I have no clue what this is from Kaiser. I think this is just a random thing he had going. Kaiser was pretty big in the beginning. However, he like deconstructed his base for the most part, gave me a bunch of his land, and then when he came back, he reclaimed independence or whatever, which is fine. He just got his land back. Got into the World War and the war with Dash and almost another war, and that was it. Like he just kind of quit playing here, and I think that's it for Kaiser's nation. Okay, here it is. This is the actual base he was kind of building here. I still don't think there's a whole lot to it. Kaiser was not super involved in this world. I mean, he had a war with Dash. He did declare war on Oregon alongside the Allies. I can't remember whether or not he fought or not, sorry. And I do remember he was almost in a war with some of the Allies during the World War. Like, he almost kind of split everyone up. But his nation didn't have a whole lot there. I mean, they just, the little outlines of structures I showed you is what he had. So with that said, I gotta film a couple of more, and we'll get to the end of the video. So by sheer luck, and I mean sheer luck, I just ballparked the direction I had to go from Kaiser's base. I have found Hacker's base, which he was kind of a meme. He was trying to make his base, I want to say, oh man, what was it, like a communist or something? I can't remember what he was doing, but he was trying to do something funny. He was like, oh, come work in my mines and you'll get paid like 1% of what you mine or something. It was like a really goofy ass, like he was kind of making fun of something. I can't remember. If Hacker watches this, put it in the comments. It's kind of a neat idea. I like what he did with the mines though. He like just put random rails for no reason, made it look a little more like a mine. And then his little base here. Independent Socialist State. Yeah, there you go. So, ISSR. That's what it was. USSR. He's trying to parody that. I knew it was something funky. And actually, this is the only nation, or one of the only two nations I don't have an embassy in. And, of course, those two nations I miss. They are two of the smaller nations. I mean, this is it. That is, you know, a mine in this building. He may have some more underground. I guess he has a building here I haven't seen before. But not a whole lot here. Absolutely not a whole lot here. And actually, I think both of the nations I don't have an embassy in invited me to come build an embassy. I just never ended up doing it. But if I head in this direction, hopefully by sheer luck again, we can find Oregon. I think he's just a hop, skip, and a jump here. There should be like an island of some sort. Okay, by sheer dumb will, I found the newest nation in the world that I wasn't even going to talk about, because I didn't know their exact location, but I'm pretty sure this is like the Dirt Nation or something, what they were going to call. This is the bank. That's funny, dude. I don't even remember who made this base. I genuinely do not remember who owned this. I want to shout their name out. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't see any signs naming it. I for the life of me, I couldn't tell you. But I guess there's an honorable mention here. Could this be? Could this be? It is. Wow, 3 for 3 on pretty good luck here. This is Oregon's new nation. So after all the wars and whatnot he went through, he decided, hey, here's a little island. What a nice place. Actually, we kind of exiled him to this island. We said, hey, you can have these 2, 3, 4 little islands and you make do. Since then, you know, before the world was officially retired, before he stopped playing, he actually got gifted a lot of this land around him. Cool guy, myself, and a couple other people just said, hey, okay, you've been doing good, you've been behaving. He had all these little auto smelters and farms and stuff going on. Like, okay, man, here you go. So, and ever since, I mean, he has been no problem at all. Actually, he's been one of my closer allies in Nations 2.0 and throughout further endeavors. So, it's just poor world, poor luck. Short end of the stick on this world. But this is his new nation. And that about does it for all the nations. And I think I got all the wars. But it was a very eventful world. And for everyone whose nation I just showed, and even the citizens, you know, this world means a lot to all of us. It's a great world, a lot of history. We're really young back then. I mean, really, none of us were 18 at the time. Maybe a couple of players. I think Dash is a little bit older. Dan is. But, I mean, I think I was probably no older than 16, 17 maybe. I mean, I was getting there. But yeah, Brady, Oregon, if you go back and watch these videos, all of us had squeaker voices still. So a lot of memories in this world. Grew up a little bit here, you know, met each other. And really everyone who I met in this world, like Brady, I met Power. Oregon, you know, became friends after this. Made a lot of friendships after this world. So I'm really thankful for that. So I'm still friends with most of the people that were on this world too. Kaiser and Ravens, you know, don't play as much unfortunately, but you know, definitely still talk to him. Luckily, I just talked to Kaiser yesterday. That's kind of why I'm motivated to get back on Nations. But with that said, man, you know, it breaks my heart to say this, but this is a world that will forever live in our heart. But Nations 1.0 Xbox One Edition is officially retired. It's long overdue. Open your eyes. Jeez, what a blink that was, dude. It would ruin the moment, wouldn't you? But what a world this was. What a absolute ride. I probably didn't do it justice explaining it and just flying around. I do have a history series coming out. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to have awesome visuals, cool narrations. It's going to be sick. It's going to be sweet. I definitely look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of work, though, so don't expect it too soon. Just keep it in the back of your mind. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully a new nation server up here at some point. We'll get some more awesome memories. But with that said, man, wow. Nations 1.0 Xbox One Edition. Thank you for everything. Thank you to everyone who played, man. Shout out to everyone who played. And as I fade out, we'll say goodbye.